said, what? She said, can I have another quarter? Why? She said, I dropped it. So she reaches in her purse and hands him another quarter. And he reaches way out the window, drops it in the toll basket. Up comes the gate, and out comes Johnny's Camaro. Johnny's Camaro. Johnny loved his Camaro, maybe more than life itself. Well, it was no big deal, really. He was just taking her to the airport. You see, it was autumn in New York City. It was springtime in Africa. She'd been saving her money. She's gonna go on an outward bound trip. So he's just dropping her at the airport, but you know, as they wind their way up through that vast parking garage, he passes a space. She says, there's one. He says, nah. There's one. Nah. There's one. Nah. You see, because it takes 2 parking spaces for Johnny's Camaro. Johnny's Camaro. He's a little nervous walking through the airport, looking back over his shoulder. She says, you know, you can go back if you want. He says, no, it's okay, it's okay. And she's nervous for different reasons. She's just curious if they're in the right terminal and where they're gonna find the gate. He says, okay, just hurry, I'll stick with you, but we just gotta hurry up because, you know, someone could be messing with, you know. So she finally gets to the gate and she sees that he's nervous, so she says, you know, you can go back if you want. He says, no, I'll wait till you get on the plane. Of course, as soon as she takes one step into the jetway, he's running back. And he gets back and unlocks the door. He has to walk around it first to make sure there's no scratches. And then he starts it up and he goes out into the night air. And that was just about the time that her plane was rolling down the runway. And as it tipped back and took off, it made a turn so that she could look down that long wing and see the lights coming on, the lights in the city, the lights of the boats on the water, the lights of the cars, those canyon streets with the tiny little diamond toward you and ruby away, those tiny little lights moving so slow. She knew that one of those down so far below was, well, you know. Man, the adventure she had in Africa. Where to begin? The silver bracelet. I think it's the center of the story. The silver bracelet. It was the one that the guide gave her on the trip. He kind of taken her under his wing because at the start of the trip she was so nervous. At the start of the trip, only the second day when she got sunburned on the part of her hair, you know, that little line suddenly hurt. And they laughed at her. They said, well, what are you doing wearing that straw hat? The sun goes right through. She says, that's not the kind of sun we have at home. It's not that bright. And this guy kind of took her under his wing a little bit. And a little bit more when later on the trip, she had to leave the group for, well, she just had to pee for a second. And, you know, everybody does. So she just had to go for a second and she didn't come back. And this guide came to look for her. Laura! He found her standing on the lowest branch of a fairly tall tree. How you got up there? Well, she had jumped. Why? Well, there was a hyena, and they had told her about the hyenas with jaws strong enough to crush bone. She wasn't in a real confident position anyway. She just ran. There was the branch. She jumped. One hand slipped, one hand held. She clambered that other hand up on that branch, and she climbed up with her feet, and she pulled herself up on that branch, and she was hanging onto that tree, and she was not coming down. He's gone. So, still hanging onto the branch, she kind of swings down, arms straight, hanging onto the branch. Her feet are 4 feet off the ground. She didn't know she could jump that high. But she does now. And that's the difference. And that's why he gave her that silver bracelet. It was the one that he used to wear kind of between his elbow and his shoulder. And he bent it just a little to fit on her arm. And oh, it would shine in that sun, in that African sun. It would shine. So much so that on the last day of the trip, when she had just passed him her camera to take one last snapshot, he realized he was photographing the change that had come over her. Because when she leaned out that transporter bus window, well, the bus, to get to the little airport, to get to the big airport, you know. She's leaning out that window and she makes a muscle. I don't know, maybe it was just the sun shining off that silver bracelet. He had to squint down his eyes and he said, "Laura, how you get up there? Don't forget." She was dreaming over the ocean, dreaming of being home again, dreaming over the ocean, what would never be the same. Well, you know, she gets off the plane, and it's the same airport, but you know, it's different. I mean, the ceiling seems kind of low. Maybe she's just walking tall. The air seems kind of stuffy. Maybe, well, it had been winter in New York City. Everyone was all bundled up. Of course, she was just dressed normally, you know, with the hiking boots and her shorts and the tank top and her hair tied back. That big knife on her belt and the silver bracelet. Maybe it was the silver bracelet, but everyone in the airport was just watching her walk by, getting out of her way. When she finally got to the baggage claim, she didn't see him at all, but she saw her backpack roll off, and it was on the far side, so she started walking over, and then there he was, holding on to her backpack. He was holding it upside down. She just said, "Hi." "Here, I'll take it." He says, "Oh, I'll carry it." She says, "No, I'll take it." And he watches as she swings it over onto one leg and gets her shoulder in, and swings it up on her other shoulder and fastens that little waist clip, and then she just looks like she's home. And she walks with a stride that he's not seen before, and he's trying to keep up, but he's not sure what he's keeping up with. He's in the presence of some sort of a wild animal. And she keeps looking up as if she's watching, as if she saw the shadow of a mighty wingspan across the desert tundra. And he's seeing something in her eyes that he's not seen before. He's just trying to keep up is all. And when they carefully nestle the backpack into the trunk and set out, she gets the window down right away and she's leaning out. He says, "Excuse me, can you come, Laura? Laurie, come, sit down." She says, "Just a second, I'll be with you here in a moment. I just gotta take this in, you know. It's a jungle out there." And she smiles, this smile. and he realizes that he's gotten himself into a car with someone he hardly knows. And he's gonna try and bring her back home. That's his job. I mean, that's all he's trying to do, is just bring her back home. There's people who know her. They're expecting her to be the way she was. Now, she can't go on like this, right? I mean, she's just gonna sit down and she's gonna fasten herself into that seat. She's just got to. So, he's doing his best. It's his job to bring her, back. Meanwhile, she's leaning out even farther. She never used to let her hair out like that. It's flying in the wind. It smells different. It smells like some kind of blossom. So as he's watching all this, she's leaning out just a little further, and he gets an idea. Of course, the electric window. Why, that'll teach her a lesson, won't it? So he just mashes his finger on the power window button. And sure enough, as the window starts to come in, she leans back and she smiles at him. She says, I forgot how much you love this vehicle. It's fun to watch you drive this thing. I can see how it suits you. And he smiles to himself to think, she's coming home now. She's getting more sensible, isn't she? Obviously, she knows what a righteous car it is. She knows that it's worth the loan he had to take out and the job that he doesn't really like in order to pay for the car that he needs to get to work. And come back. So, as they're getting closer to home, he comes off the freeway and turns into the familiar neighborhoods. And she says, can I just get one more breath of that fresh air? And he takes the lock off the power window, and she brings the window down. But you know what? She doesn't lean out this time. She knows it's there. She just leans back into her chair. Maybe she just wanted to feel that plush upholstery brush against the side of her face. Maybe she was just watching the lights of the graphic equalizer on the stereo as they did their limiter dance. Limiter. But she knows nothing now will limit her. And she's just leaning back, watching that lone drop of water make its way across the desert of that perfectly waxed surface. And she smiles to herself because she accepts his gift, the best that he had, the best that he could come up with. And she says yes to it. And she says thank you. And she just wanted to enjoy this ride because she knows that there's places that she'll go that he doesn't dare to dream anymore. Even though before, years ago, when they were still just juniors in high school, it was his dream of Africa, not hers. She wonders if he still knows that it was his dream that gave her the courage to go and take this last ride with gratitude. In Johnny's Camaro, Johnny's Camaro.